Well, back to our earlier story, the Constitutional Court is today hearing an argument on why National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shaun Abrahams, should vacate his office following a North Gauteng High Court decision which nullified his appointment by former President Jacob Zuma. Well, for more on the seminal case, we are joined by Phephelaphi Dube. She's the Director for the Centre of Constitutional Rights in Cape Town. Good afternoon, Phephelaphi, and thank you so much for being generous with your time on the SABC News Desk.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Phephelaphi, it's a case that's had the nation on tenterhooks for a long time now. How difficult is it going to be for Abrahams to convince the court and everybody involved that he's acted without any political interference, given his track record up to this point?
Well, I think Shaun Abrahams going forward will have a difficult he'll really have an uphill battle in terms of trying to convince the court of his merits, because we need to consider the fact that the Pretoria High Court basically found that Shaun Abrahams did not act the way in which he was supposed to act, insofar as he failed to ensure that Nomcebo and Lawrence Mokgebi, who were very high-ranking officials within the National Prosecuting Authority, kept their jobs. This after the court had found that they were not fit and proper to hold their positions. And also, if we go back a few months prior to that, the manner in which Shaun Abrahams conducted himself in the Pravin Gordhan matter, and we, of course, as a nation, all witnessed that climb down after he had convinced the nation that he had sufficient merits going forward. And I think a third reason is also to consider Shaun Abrahams' conduct in the matter regarding whether or not the charges should be reinstated against former President Zuma. In that particular instance, it appeared as if he was occupying the same legal position as President Zuma, and in that matter, it didn't appear as if he was acting independently, and he seemed to agree with former President Zuma's case. So I think if we consider all of this, he would definitely have a hard time in trying to convince the court of the merits of his case.
Phephelaphi, if Shaun Abrahams is forced to vacate his position, what happens to those decisions he took on previous matters?
Well, that's a question that did come up before the court, and the Pretoria High Court then basically was of the view that there really wouldn't be much implications for the decisions that Shaun Abrahams had taken, unless, of course, such decisions, if on the face of it, that such decisions were either undertaken with an ulterior motive or if there was some kind of unprocedural element. But on the whole, it wouldn't appear as if any of the decisions that he took would have any negative bearing.
Do you think, Phephelaphi, that we will see eventually a situation unfold where the former NPA head, Mxolisi Nkosana, will be reinstated? Because we heard Kasich in court today that he did take advantage of the situation somewhat, and he did go ahead and accept that 17.3 million rand golden handshake.
Well, I think we also need to consider the events that took place when Nkosana was first appointed into that office. Just the fact that he didn't have police clearance because of the fact that he had once been acquitted of murder as a young man. But on the other hand, we also need to consider the fact that from day one, from the get-go, he's always made it clear that he was forced to accept this money, and that he's actually kept this money, and that he's more than willing to return this money, and that he wants his job back. But of course, the Pretoria High Court had said that the fact that he accepted the money, that on its own casts aspersions on his character, and that he probably isn't fit to hold that particular office. So if this court then agrees with the findings of the Pretoria High Court regarding his character, then we're probably in for a very long wait insofar as we find another person to head up the National Prosecuting Authority.
Thank you. Phephelaphi Dube, she's the Director of the Constitutional Rights Centre based in Cape Town. Thank you for sharing your insights with us on the SABC News Desk.